if their fall is riches for the world, if already their failure is riches for the Gentile nations, how much more their fullness? And what Paul does now, and I want you to see the train of thought here, he brings up what is important to him and where he comes from actually in chapter 10. And has mentioned it in verse 11. And now he repeats it because it's so important to him. And he says, to you Gentiles, I say. We keep in mind here, he talks to Gentiles who believe in Yeshua, the Messiah. But he still makes a difference between Jews and Gentiles. It's in certain instances. In certain cases, there is no difference between Jew and Gentile. Here, he emphasizes to you Gentiles, I say, inasmuch then as I am apostle to the Gentile nations, not to the Jews, that was Peter's calling. Now he says, inasmuch as I am apostle to the Gentile nations, I praise my ministry in order to somehow make my blood relatives jealous and thus save some of them. We see here Paul's heart. It is all about his own people. It's all about Israel, all about the Jewish nation, and he wants them to see them saved. So what he is talking about here, what he is developing towards the Gentiles, and God's plan with the Gentiles is all about the Jewish nation. We should never forget that. As we focus on something, we should not forget the other. And we should see that Paul here doesn't talk about theory. He talks about what is our mission, what is our vocation, our calling, our destiny, our task, everyday task. And it's not some kind of theoretical philosophy. It's not something about knowing it better. And then we come, and finally we have one of these stubborn Jews and we tell him, I learned that from Orthodox Judaism. I learned that from my rabbi who did not believe in Yeshua. That if we dig into the New Testament, if we want to understand Paul, he was an Orthodox rabbi. He was taught at the feet of Gamaliel. In the wisdoms he learned from Hillel and other rabbis. It is not about theology, something theoretical. It is about, I just changed that word, theopraxy. It is about doing something that is to do with God, that is me following Messiah, is me believing in what God has to say, but doing it in practical terms. The Bible tells us here certain interdependencies, certain sequences, but we have to focus on what he's telling us. And he says, your calling and what I'm heading to is you making the Jewish people envious. You are provoking them to jealousy. Not by what you know, not by what you have understood, but by what you are. I had it that a German professor of theology seriously said, and a lot of believing Christians underline that, what we are, what Christian history is, okay, we failed. But now we have to come and tell the Jews what is right, what they have to see, what they have to know. Paul here takes a very different approach. And I tell you, honestly, I decided with all what am I and what all I think and believe, I want to go with Scripture, with Paul's thought. And I want to put my philosophy, my theology on the altar. And I do not want where Scripture is silent and doesn't tell me all the inner beings and all whatever. I do not want to fill the silence of Scripture with my speculation, but I want to hold that, even if there's a tension, and there is lots of tension in what Paul is saying here, but it's very clear. He says, and he emphasizes and underlines it over and over again, your calling as non-Jews is to provoke Israel to jealousy. Now, if a Jew asks, what are you here for? And I tell him that, he might laugh at me and say, you as a German, as a persecutor of Judaism, you as a Christian who comes from all these churches who try to boycott and de-invest and sanction Israel today because they're committing violations of all kinds of human rights. You do not even take the effort of understanding what's going on here. Yes. And maybe it means that I shut up. Maybe it means that I say, okay, I don't have an explanation here. We have to provoke to jealousy.